It was a bright Saturday morning when I decided to indulge myself in some retail therapy. I had been eyeing a visit to one of the most luxurious malls in the city for a while, and today felt like the perfect day to explore it. Dressed in my favorite outfit, I hailed a cab, excitement bubbling in my chest. I've been to many places around the world, but there's something uniquely thrilling about stepping into a world of high-end fashion, where every corner promises elegance and style. The moment I stepped out of the cab and into the grand entrance of the mall, I was greeted by a magnificent glass facade that sparkled under the sun. The doors slid open, revealing a world of luxury inside. Polished marble floors stretched out before me, gleaming under soft golden lights. The air was filled with the scent of fresh flowers and expensive perfumes, setting the tone for the day ahead. I took a deep breath, ready to dive into this world of opulence. As I walked through the entrance hall, I noticed the walls adorned with artistic installations, each more striking than the last. They weren't just decorations, they were masterpieces, hinting at the sophisticated experience that awaited. Everywhere I looked, I saw signs of prestige, luxury brands I'd only seen in magazines, sprawling storefronts promising exclusivity and excellence. I felt a shiver of excitement as I stepped further inside. The first store that caught my eye was a renowned Italian designer brand. The window display showcased an elegant collection of leather bags, each one looking more luxurious than the next. I stepped inside, the soft sound of classical music playing in the background. A well-dressed sales associate welcomed me warmly and asked if I needed any assistance. As I glanced around, my eyes landed on a deep burgundy handbag, its leather soft, its design flawless. Without a second thought, I asked to see it up close. Holding the bag in my hands, I marveled at its craftsmanship. Every stitch was perfectly aligned, and the rich color was unlike anything I had seen before. The sales associate explained the unique process behind the bag's creation, mentioning how it was hand-stitched by artisans in Florence. I was sold, not just on the bag, but on the entire experience of owning something so meticulously crafted. I handed over my card, smiling as I imagined pairing it with different outfits. With my first purchase secured, I wandered through the mall, feeling a sense of exhilaration. Each turn brought me to a new store, each one more extravagant than the last. I walked past a French couture house, with its exquisite dresses shimmering in the window. I paused for a moment, contemplating entering, but decided to save that for later. Instead, I found myself drawn to a boutique specializing in fine jewelry. I couldn't resist. Inside the jewelry store, everything sparkled. Diamonds, sapphires, and emeralds glittered under the light, each piece more captivating than the last. My eyes settled on a delicate diamond bracelet that seemed to call out to me. It was simple yet stunning, the kind of piece that could elevate any outfit without being too flashy. I slipped it onto my wrist, admiring how it caught the light with every movement. It felt perfect. After a brief moment of hesitation, I decided it was too beautiful to leave behind. After my purchase, I decided it was time for a break. Luckily, the mall housed one of the most luxurious cafes I had ever seen. It was nestled in a quiet corner, away from the main shopping area, offering an oasis of calm. I settled into a plush velvet chair, the soft hum of conversation and the clinking of fine china surrounding me. The menu was filled with decadent pastries, artisanal coffee, and exotic teas. I ordered a cappuccino and a slice of raspberry cheesecake, feeling the weight of my shopping bags resting beside me. As I sipped my coffee, I couldn't help but reflect on the experience so far. Shopping at this mall was unlike anything else. It was more than just buying clothes or accessories. It was about immersing myself in a world of beauty, elegance, and sophistication. The mall wasn't just a place, it was an experience. Every purchase felt meaningful, like I was investing in something more than just material goods. Once I had finished my coffee, I resumed my exploration of the mall. This time, I found myself wandering into a high-end shoe boutique. The soft leather boots on display were nothing short of breathtaking. I tried on a pair of knee-high boots in a beautiful caramel shade. They fit like a glove, hugging my legs in all the right places. The sales associate assured me that these boots were the latest in their collection, designed with both comfort and style in mind. After purchasing the boots, I continued exploring, my feet now gliding across the marble floors in their luxurious new shoes. I soon found myself drawn to a store that specialized in bespoke fragrances. The interior of the store was elegant, with glass shelves lined with beautiful bottles. I was greeted by a perfumer who guided me through the process of creating a signature scent just for me. After discussing my preferences, we began blending different notes, jasmine, bergamot, sandalwood, until we arrived at the perfect fragrance. I left the store with a bottle of my custom perfume in hand, feeling like I had truly indulged in something personal and unique. It was incredible to think that I now had a scent that was one of a kind, tailored to my tastes and personality. It felt like the ultimate luxury. As the afternoon stretched on, I found myself drawn to one last store, an exclusive home decor boutique. I wasn't planning on buying anything, but the beautiful display in the window beckoned me inside. The store was filled with luxurious furniture, soft throws, and stunning vases. I wandered through the aisles, running my hands over the fine fabrics and imagining how these pieces could transform any living space. One particular item caught my eye, a stunning crystal vase, intricately designed with delicate patterns that shimmered in the light. It was a statement piece, the kind that would elevate any room. Though I debated whether or not I needed it, the thought of displaying it on my coffee table was too tempting. I made the purchase, imagining how it would fit perfectly in my home. With my hands full of shopping bags, I decided it was time to leave the mall. But as I made my way to the exit, I couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. Shopping at this mall wasn't just about acquiring material possessions, it was about experiencing luxury in its purest form. Every purchase, every interaction, every moment in the mall had been meticulously crafted to make me feel special. As I stepped outside and into the evening air, I felt a sense of satisfaction that went beyond the things I had bought. It was the feeling of having treated myself to an unforgettable day of luxury, where every detail was designed to make me feel pampered. I hailed a cab, my arms weighed down by bags, but my heart light with the joy of a day well spent. I knew that I would return to this mall someday, not just for the shopping, but for the experience. For the sense of elegance, exclusivity, and indulgence that only a place like this could offer. It had been a day of pure luxury, and I relished every moment of it. It all started when I set my sights on Indonesia. I had heard stories about the archipelago's diverse culture, vibrant cities, and stunning natural beauty. Having explored several iconic destinations before, I felt Indonesia was the perfect blend of adventure and serenity. So, with a heart full of excitement and a suitcase packed with essentials, I boarded my flight, ready to dive into the wonders of a new land. Landing in Jakarta was an experience in itself. The sheer scale of the city was overwhelming. Bustling streets, towering skyscrapers, and a constant hum of activity welcomed me. I spent the first few days immersing myself in the capital's culture. The contrast between modernity and tradition was striking. One moment, I was strolling through ultramodern shopping malls, and the next, I found myself wandering around the ancient Istiqlal Mosque, the largest mosque in Southeast Asia. As I delved deeper into Jakarta, I encountered Monas, the national monument, standing tall and proud. Its golden flame symbolized Indonesia's fight for independence, and I couldn't help but admire the rich history that pulsed through the veins of the sprawling metropolis. The museums in Jakarta offered glimpses into the country's colonial past, adding layers to my understanding of its present. From Jakarta, I decided to head to Yogyakarta, the cultural heart of Java. The moment I arrived, I felt the city's pulse. Yogyakarta had a certain charm. Its streets were filled with art, music, and tradition. I spent hours exploring the vibrant Malioboro Street, tasting street food and bargaining with vendors for batik and handicrafts. Each corner seemed to tell its own story, and I couldn't get enough of the local life. One of my main reasons for visiting Yogyakarta was to witness the grandeur of Borobudur Temple. As I stood before this majestic Buddhist temple, I was overwhelmed by its sheer size and intricate carvings. The sunrise here was unlike anything I had ever seen. The soft light kissed the ancient stone reliefs, and the mist surrounding the temple gave the entire place a mystical aura. It felt as if time had stopped, and I was standing in a different era. Not far from Borobudur, Prambanan Temple stood in sharp contrast. This Hindu temple complex was no less impressive, with its towering spires dedicated to different gods. The symmetry and artistry of the temple left me in awe. I spent hours wandering its grounds, soaking in the spiritual energy that seemed to flow from every stone. From the cultural heartland, I headed to the beaches of Bali. Bali had been a dream destination for me for as long as I could remember, and now I was finally here. The island was every bit as enchanting as I had imagined. My first stop was Ubud, nestled amidst lush rice paddies and jungles. The spiritual vibe of Ubud was palpable. From yoga retreats to art galleries, there was a sense of calm that permeated the air. One morning, I found myself trekking through the famous Tagalalang rice terraces. The view was breathtaking, with endless tiers of green stretching into the horizon. It was a peaceful walk, punctuated by the occasional chatter of local farmers going about their day. As the sun began to set, the golden light illuminated the terraces, creating a surreal landscape I will never forget. After a few tranquil days in Ubud, I made my way to Bali's coastline. Seminyak was my base for the next leg of my journey, and it was as vibrant and lively as I had hoped. The beaches were stunning, with soft sand and crystal-clear waters. I spent hours lounging on the shore, sipping coconut water and soaking up the sun. The nightlife in Seminyak was another level of excitement. I hopped between beach bars, dancing under the stars to the beat of local music. But the real highlight of Bali was my trip to the Gili Islands. I had heard whispers about the untouched beauty of these islands, and they didn't disappoint. As soon as I stepped off the boat onto Gili Trawangan, I was in paradise. The island had no cars, only bicycles and horse-drawn carriages, giving it a laid-back, almost timeless feel. The waters surrounding the islands were the clearest I had ever seen, perfect for snorkeling. My first snorkeling trip was magical. The vibrant coral reefs were teeming with marine life. I swam alongside sea turtles, watched schools of colorful fish dart through the water, and even spotted a manta ray gliding gracefully by. It was like being in an underwater dream, and I couldn't help but marvel at the beauty of Indonesia's marine biodiversity. After my time in the Gilis, I decided to head to Mount Bromo in East Java for a completely different experience. The active volcano is a must-see for anyone visiting Indonesia, and I was eager to witness its majesty. The journey up was rugged, but as I reached the summit, I knew it was worth it. Standing on the edge of the crater, with smoke billowing from the volcano and the surrounding landscape bathed in the golden light of dawn, I felt a sense of awe that words could never fully capture. From the heights of Bromo, I ventured into the jungles of Sumatra. My goal was to see the critically endangered orangutans in their natural habitat. Bukit Lawang was the place to be for this unique encounter. Trekking through the dense jungle, I could hear the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds. Then, suddenly, I saw them, orangutans swinging gracefully from tree to tree. It was a humbling experience to witness these intelligent creatures up close, knowing how vulnerable they are. As my time in Indonesia was nearing its end, I reflected on the sheer diversity of the experiences I had encountered. From the bustling streets of Jakarta to the serene rice terraces of Ubud, from the underwater wonders of the Gili Islands to the spiritual serenity of Borobudur, every corner of Indonesia had something unique to offer. Each place I visited told its own story, adding to the rich tapestry of memories I would take home with me. Indonesia had a way of surprising me at every turn. Whether it was the people, the landscapes, or the food, there was always something new to discover. Speaking of food, Indonesian cuisine had truly captured my heart. From the spicy rendang to the flavorful nasi goreng, every meal was a delight for my taste buds. I often found myself lingering in local warungs, savoring every bite and chatting with the friendly locals. One of the last places I visited before leaving was Raja Ampat, a remote archipelago in West Papua. Known for its stunning marine biodiversity, Raja Ampat felt like the edge of the world. The islands were untouched, with pristine beaches and waters so clear they looked like glass. My final dive there was unforgettable. The coral reefs were alive with color, and I swam with an array of sea creatures, from tiny nudibranch to massive whale sharks. As I boarded my flight back home, I couldn't help but feel a sense of longing. Indonesia had captured my heart in a way no other destination had. It was a place of contrasts, where tradition met modernity, where nature's raw beauty was on full display, and where every day brought new surprises. I knew that this was not a goodbye. It was simply a see you later. Indonesia had left an indelible mark on my soul, and I was certain that one day I would return. It had been a while since I last traveled by train. Most of my trips were by plane or car, but something about this upcoming journey made me long for a slower pace, to experience the world passing by through the window, one frame at a time. I had booked a ticket for a long-distance train ride, not just for the destination but for the journey itself. I'd read countless stories of how train travel offered an unmatched sense of adventure, and I was eager to rediscover it for myself. The station was bustling with people when I arrived. There was a kind of energy in the air, as travelers shuffled to and fro, luggage in hand, each on their own adventure. The smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air from the station cafe, and I grabbed a cup as I waited for my train to arrive. It felt like the beginning of something special, a break from the rush of airports and highways, a return to the romance of the rails. When the train finally pulled into the station, its sleek, silver body glistening in the afternoon sun, I felt a surge of excitement. I boarded, finding my seat near the window. It was spacious, much more comfortable than the cramped airplane seats I was used to. The soft hum of the engine and the gentle creak of the train as it prepared to depart filled the air. As we pulled out of the station, I settled in, already feeling a sense of calm wash over me. The city quickly faded behind us, giving way to sprawling suburbs and, soon after, to open countryside. I had always loved watching the world go by from the window of a train. There was something magical about seeing the landscape change so effortlessly. Fields of green stretched out as far as the eye could see, dotted with farmhouses and the occasional herd of cattle. The rhythmic sound of the train on the tracks became a comforting background to my thoughts. As we chugged along, I decided to explore the train. I walked through the carriages, noting how each one had its own unique character. There was a dining car with elegant booths and white tablecloths, where people were sipping wine and enjoying their meals. I passed through sleeper cabins, their tiny, cozy beds neatly made up for overnight travelers. The atmosphere on the train was relaxed, almost nostalgic, as if we had all stepped back in time to a simpler era of travel. Eventually, I returned to my seat and struck up a conversation with the person sitting across from me, a middle-aged man who was also traveling alone. We swapped stories about our past travels and shared our mutual love for train journeys. He had taken this route many times before and regaled me with tales of the towns and cities we would pass along the way. His enthusiasm was contagious, and I found myself eagerly looking forward to the rest of the trip. One of the most delightful things about train travel is the people you meet along the way. Everyone seemed more open and friendly, as if the slower pace allowed for deeper connections. I soon found myself chatting with others in my carriage, an elderly couple celebrating their anniversary, a young backpacker traveling across the country, and a family with children excitedly peering out the windows at the passing scenery. There was a sense of camaraderie on the train, as if we were all part of a shared adventure. As the train rolled through a series of tunnels and emerged into a beautiful valley, I was struck by the sheer beauty of the landscape. Snow-capped mountains loomed in the distance, and a sparkling river wound its way through the valley below. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over everything. I watched in awe, grateful to be experiencing such natural beauty in the most serene way possible, by train. The dining car was calling my name, and I decided it was time for a proper meal. I made my way there, taking a seat by the window. The menu was surprisingly diverse, with options ranging from gourmet sandwiches to hearty soups. I ordered a grilled chicken dish, along with a glass of wine, and settled in to enjoy my meal as the scenery continued to unfold outside. The combination of good food, great company, and breathtaking views made for a perfect dinner. After my meal, I returned to my seat, feeling full and content. The train was now moving through a dense forest, the trees standing tall and close to the tracks. The soft light of the setting sun filtered through the branches, creating a dappled pattern on the ground below. The world outside seemed so peaceful, and I found myself lost in thought as the train gently rocked from side to side. Night began to fall, and the train transformed into a cocoon of warmth and comfort. The lights inside dimmed, creating a cozy atmosphere. Some passengers had already retreated to their sleeper cars, while others stayed up, quietly reading or chatting in hushed tones. I wrapped myself in a blanket, the gentle lull of the train and the sound of the wheels on the tracks lulling me into a relaxed state. As the stars began to twinkle in the dark sky outside, I leaned back and closed my eyes. The train was now moving through a remote area, far from any city lights, and the darkness outside made the stars seem even brighter. I stared up at them through the window, feeling a sense of awe at the vastness of the universe. There was something deeply meditative about being on a train at night, moving through the world in such a quiet, almost dreamlike way. The next morning, I woke to the soft sound of the train's whistle. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a pale pink light over the horizon. I stretched and made my way to the window, eager to see where we were. We were passing through rolling hills now, the green pastures bathed in the soft morning light. It was a peaceful start to the day, and I felt refreshed and ready for whatever lay ahead. Breakfast was served in the dining car, and I made my way there to enjoy a simple meal of toast and coffee. I struck up a conversation with a fellow passenger, a woman who was traveling to visit family in a distant city. We talked about our lives, our travels, and how this train journey felt like a step back in time, away from the hectic pace of modern life. It was refreshing to connect with people in such a meaningful way. As the train continued its journey, I spent the day alternating between reading, watching the passing scenery, and chatting with other passengers. We passed through small towns and villages, each one with its own unique charm. I couldn't help but imagine what life was like in these quiet, out-of-the-way places. The train offered a glimpse into worlds I might never have seen otherwise. At one point, the train stopped at a particularly scenic town, allowing passengers to disembark for a short break. I took the opportunity to stretch my legs and explore. The town was quaint, with cobblestone streets and small shops lining the main square. I grabbed a coffee from a local cafe and strolled around, soaking in the atmosphere. It was a delightful interlude before returning to the train. Back on board, I settled in for the final stretch of the journey. The scenery had shifted once again, this time to vast open plains stretching out beneath a wide blue sky. There was something calming about the endless horizon, the way the world seemed to go on forever in all directions. I leaned my head against the window, letting the gentle rhythm of the train soothe me. As we neared our destination, I couldn't help but feel a sense of bittersweet anticipation. The journey had been so enriching, so full of small moments of beauty and connection. I didn't want it to end. But all journeys must come to a close eventually, and I knew that this train ride would stay with me for a long time after I disembarked. Finally, the train slowed as we approached the station. The familiar sounds of a bustling platform began to fill the air once again. I gathered my belongings, my heart full of gratitude for the experience. This train journey had been more than just a mode of transportation. It had been a chance to slow down, to reconnect with the simple joys of travel, and to meet people I would never have encountered otherwise. As I stepped off the train, I felt a wave of nostalgia already washing over me. I glanced back at the silver train, now resting at the platform, and smiled. There's something special about train travel, something timeless that no other form of transportation can replicate. I knew that I would be back on the rails soon, chasing that same feeling of freedom, adventure, and quiet reflection. I remember the exact moment I realized the importance of English in shaping my career. Growing up, English was not my first language, and although I had a basic understanding, it was nowhere near fluent. I went through school with decent grades, but whenever there was an English-related task, I felt somewhat inadequate. The turning point came when I applied for an internship at a multinational company and was rejected due to my poor English speaking skills. This rejection shook me. I had all the necessary qualifications on paper, but the lack of confidence in communicating in English was holding me back. That's when I decided I couldn't let language be an obstacle in achieving my dreams. I began my journey toward fluency, determined to improve my skills. At first, I felt overwhelmed. English seemed complex, with its vast vocabulary and seemingly strange grammar rules. But I was motivated. I started by watching English movies with subtitles. This turned out to be a brilliant decision. Not only did I enjoy the movies, but I also began picking up phrases, accents, and the flow of the language. Slowly, it didn't feel foreign anymore. The next step was speaking. It's one thing to understand English and another to express your thoughts fluently. To practice, I would talk to myself in English, describing my day or narrating imaginary situations. It felt odd at first, but over time, I grew more comfortable hearing myself speak in a different language. I also found online communities where I could chat with native speakers. These conversations were game-changing. Not only did I improve my vocabulary, but I also learned idioms, slang, and different cultural nuances. It wasn't just about language anymore. I was learning how to connect with people from diverse backgrounds. As my fluency improved, I began applying for jobs again, and this time, I had more confidence. I remember going into an interview at a company I had admired for years. In the past, I would have been anxious, fumbling over my words, but this time was different. I conversed effortlessly in English, and the interviewers were impressed not just by my qualifications, but by my communication skills. I landed the job, and that moment was a turning point. With English under my belt, I suddenly had access to opportunities that had previously seemed out of reach. I started working with international clients, and my ability to speak English became one of my greatest assets. It wasn't just a skill, it became the bridge between me and a world full of possibilities. Working in a global environment, I met people from all over the world. English was our common language, and it made collaboration seamless. I was no longer just a member of a team. I became someone who could lead conversations, guide projects, and even present in meetings confidently. As I grew in my role, I noticed that many of my colleagues who were not fluent in English struggled to advance in their careers. They were equally qualified, but the lack of fluency in English held them back from communicating their ideas effectively. It was clear to me then that mastering English wasn't just about language, it was about unlocking doors to career growth. I soon got promoted and was given more responsibilities that required me to travel. I had the chance to visit different countries, places like London, Singapore, and Istanbul, all of which I had only dreamed of before. Each visit was a learning experience, and being fluent in English made navigating these new environments much easier. My travels expanded my worldview, and I realized how interconnected the world had become. Whether it was business meetings in Hong Kong or conferences in Bangkok, English was always the medium through which we communicated. My ability to speak fluently set me apart and positioned me as someone who could operate on a global scale. Not long after, I was invited to attend a professional development course at Cambridge University. This was a huge milestone for me. Cambridge had always been a symbol of academic excellence, and now, because of my English skills, I had the chance to learn from some of the brightest minds in the world. Sitting in those classrooms, surrounded by international professionals, I couldn't help but feel proud of how far I had come. The discussions, debates, and exchanges of ideas all happened in English, and I realized that if I hadn't made the decision to improve my language skills years ago, I wouldn't be sitting there. After completing the course at Cambridge, my career trajectory accelerated even more. I began getting offers from prestigious companies and was invited to speak at industry events. Speaking at conferences was a surreal experience for me. I was no longer the person who hesitated when speaking English. I was someone others looked up to for insights and leadership. The ripple effect of learning English didn't stop at career opportunities. It enriched my personal life too. I made friends from different parts of the world, and the ability to communicate in English deepened those connections. I visited places like Egypt, where I explored the pyramids, and the Caribbean Sea, where I immersed myself in different cultures. Everywhere I went, English was the language that connected me with people. Eventually, I returned to my roots, but this time with a wealth of experience and confidence. My story became a testament to others who, like me, had doubted their ability to succeed because of a language barrier. I began mentoring younger professionals, helping them see the value of learning English not just as a career tool, but as a gateway to the world. Reflecting on my journey, I realized that learning English didn't just boost my career, it transformed my entire life. It gave me confidence, broadened my horizons, and opened up opportunities one had never imagined. English became more than just a language for me. It became the key to unlocking my full potential. The most rewarding part of this journey is knowing that I've inspired others to follow a similar path. Whenever someone tells me they're struggling with English, I remind them that I was once in their shoes. With time, effort, and persistence, they too can turn what seems like a challenge into an asset that will propel them toward success. It's incredible to think that something as simple as watching English movies was the starting point for all of this. What began as a small step grew into a lifelong journey of learning, growth, and achievement. And the best part? I know that this is just the beginning.